I'm Erica Lynn, and we all know the ocean is the most demanding environment on Earth, consistently testing the reliability and durability of our equipment. When you spend as much time fishing as I do, you know that reliable gear is essential for staying on the water. This is why I went with the Abyss battery to power my trolling motor, electronics, and outboard. The guys at Abyss Battery are rattling the saltwater industry by manufacturing performance marine batteries specifically designed for sonar, outboards, trolling motors, and electronic fishing reels. They're also Bluetooth compatible, so I found checking battery statuses right on your phone while you're out on the water is a huge game changer. To learn more about why Abyss batteries are used by the pros and factory installed by premier boat builders, visit abyssbattery.com.
Whether you're just looking to stay warm during a hunt or need maximum concealment, the clothing you wear can make or break a hunt. At MidwayUSA.com, we understand hunting clothing has come a long way with more meticulously crafted camo patterns, advanced scent control technologies, and weatherproof options to withstand the elements. Hunters have to wait until their favorite season, but shouldn't wait on gear, which is why Midway USA offers super fast shipping. When you're ready for your next system, log on to MidwayUSA.com.
The Outdoor Drive Podcast.
Oh, welcome back to the podcast. This is your boy, the Madman Mardik, and I'm brought to you by my good buddy, Mr. East Coast Trev. What's up, buddy? How'd I do?
You did absolutely great. I'm brought to you by East Coast Trev. We'll practice with you. I appreciate you jumping in and just grabbing the bull by the horns with that one. Do you know what episode that it is?
Yeah, it's 235.
All right. Well, you're doing good. You're paying attention over there. That's important.
Do this without you.
I mean, hey, dude, take the reins, grab the bull by the horn, man. Let it rip, potato chip. While your phone's ringing, yeah. See, you're doing real good. Well, guys, welcome back yet to another week. We had a great podcast. This one was with Aaron Satterfield, one of the homies. Honestly, we love Aaron and what he does over there. If you guys haven't checked him out, make sure to get on over to Sattie's ammunition. Find him on any Facebook, Instagram. We'll drop some links in below, but some good stuff for you guys ready to go to TSS. Now's the time. Think about it. Listen to this podcast, kind of fill yourselves in for it, but you want to stop the flop, shoot TSS. So I know there's a lot of like crazy craze about it and stuff, but Aaron Satterfield makes the most inexpensive and also I think the hardest hitting tungsten round I've ever shot, honestly. But we have a good podcast with him, dive into what's going on in the world of Mr. Satterfield, kind of the things that he's bringing to the table, new things for the 2024 season. Just always great to catch up with my man and just kind of feel out what's going on. Before we get through it, we'll do a little bit of housekeeping and we'll turn this mic right over to him. We don't want to hold you guys up too much. You guys have already listened to advertisements and all that good stuff before you've actually broken into this piece of it. So, do you got anything good? What's going on with you, Mr. Madman? I know it's off season. Things are slow and.
Ooh, dude, I've been just focused on bear camp right now because it's like 12 weeks out, man. So I just getting my arrows dialed in. I just ordered some more lighted nocks and whatnot, waiting for the passport to come in. So I'm getting all excited for that and gearing up for it. But then I got to remind myself, turkey season comes before bear camp. So
it's true. This is true.
But just kind of going through the gear and, busted up the turkey vest and going through all the pockets and finding all the shit that I left in there that's been sitting in there since last year. And
that's always fun, the things that you can find in a turkey vest.
On like a melted Snickers bar and a half-smoking cigar.
The tube's full still?
Right. But, just that kind of stuff going through. I've been messing around with my GoPros. So I'm going to run it this year because I have 2 GoPros now. So I think I'm going to do one on body, either on my head or maybe like the Dave Owen style on my shoulder, and then have the other one on that little tripod facing back at me. So,
and this weekend, guys, while you guys are listening to this podcast, you'll be probably 2 days away from beer, Birds and Booze at Waypoint Spirits in Bloomfield. If you guys are in Connecticut, you guys want to stop on in. It is a free event. We did a pre-ticket sale just to kind of get a count. We threw in a little bit of booze and some gourmet food for you guys on that. But if you guys are in the way, stop by Waypoint and come and check us out. We'll be there from 4 to 8 p.m. here this coming up Saturday. We'll all be chilling up there. So,
Baby.
yeah, it's going to be real good. We got Mike Jagonis, which is the retired Connecticut turkey biologist. Nor'easter Game Calls Mark will be there. Strike Zone Randy's going to be there. Matt Weddish, Real Outdoors TV, his team, Eric Nelson, all those guys, they'll all be there. We'll be there. So it'll be quite the hoedown, honestly, for a good event. We'll get messing around with some good stuff, and I think it'll be a good time. So if you're in the area, check it out. Really looking forward to that. Other than that, the norm, we are brought to you by Huntworth, huntworthgear.com. Guys, go and check them out. Make sure to get your early season Tarnin or Disruption. Super good stuff for the early season.
Big sale dropping this weekend. Turkey sale.
Big turkey sale.
8th through the 24th. I don't know what the percentage off is going to be.
Was there a promo? Was there a promo on that or anything?
Yeah, it was just a generic email. I think he's going to send it tomorrow.
All right, so we'll drop that on all social media platforms, let you guys know about that. But you guys can follow along. Just get on over to huntworthgear.com. Nor'easter Game Calls, nor'eastergamecalls.com. Get them in close. All of your turkey pot calls, box calls, mouth calls, you name it. They are ready to rock and roll. Now's the time to not sound like the avian bird flu. Practice in the car, practice in front of the mirror, practice in the shower, sing along songs, Ryan Mack, and just kind of hang out. Definitely get that practicing in. That's A-OK in our book. So go and do that. Latitude Outdoors. If you guys haven't gone and checked those guys out, if you guys are thinking about going mobile, building the climb, changing some things, there is a 50% off on all hats with those guys right now this week. There's also a sale on the knee pads if you guys are knee padders or kneelers in the saddle. Go and check those guys out, latitudeoutdoors.com. Some good new stuff coming from them, so make sure to follow them on all social media platforms. And last but not least, my favorite, Bowhunters United. Bowhuntersunited.com, free website, free membership. So go and check those guys out. Sign up at bowhuntersunited.com and kind of follow along with what they got going on. It's always some good stuff on over there. And then last but not least, go and get your Satties ammunition.
Satties fatties.
So check those guys out. And they don't have a website, but they are on all social media platforms. Just type in Satties Ammunition LLC, and you'll find those guys. And let's turn this mic on over to Mr. Aaron Satterfield himself, and let him tell you a little bit about Satties.
Fire away.
All right, guys, we are back on the phone with the Sattie man himself, Aaron Satterfield. What's up, man?
What's happening, buddy? How are you?
Oh, thanks for joining us right before turkey season, all fired up and jelly-heading some turkeys in the face. I'm ready.
Yeah. You knew I wasn't busy, didn't you?
No, of course, the busiest time of the year, right, Aaron? Oh, well, let's snap right into it. Tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about what you do.
Yeah. For those who don't know, my name's Aaron Satterfield. I'm with Satties LLC, custom ammunition and gun works. We offer custom tungsten TSS turkey loads. We also offer hand loads for rifle ammunition, predator loads. We're doing waterfowl loads, hog loads in tungsten. And we also offer general gun work. And the reason why I say just general gun work right now, we're in the process of getting our shop up and going. So a lot of the work and stuff that we do right now is a lot of, just, general gun work and stuff that we can either do by hand or, minor, machine work. So,
And
but
Roman
that's going to be
candles.
expanding. Yeah, that's going to be expanding as we get everything up and going.
How about a weatherproof muzzleloader powder? You got anything for that?
Yeah, right. Yeah, you ought you ought to ask a few guys about that, But, oh
Sorry.
man, the old Roman candle.
We had to start with it. I'm sorry, Aaron. I apologize.
That'll never get old. I don't care. It could have been anything in front of him, and I would have cried laughing. I mean, he could have wrapped that barrel around my neck. I still would have been laughing. It'll be fun. I'll never forget. We started cracking up, and I looked at him, and I'm sitting there, and I go, "You want me to go get your bullet?"
Chris will never
awesome.
let that down.
No, not at all. Because, dude, it was snowing sideways the night before. When we were out there with the muzzle loaders, and heck, we were sitting out there. We were soaked, but I was consciously paying attention, to the barrel angle and stuff like that to make sure. And he's like, "Man, you think everything will be?" Yeah, it'll be fine. Next morning, boom. I was dying. And, yeah, that's what he said. He goes, "Thanks a lot, Mr. Gunsmith."
Yeah.
Well,
He still trusts you because he had you build another gun for him this year, so it can't be that bad, right?
He must have, man. He's a brave man.
No firing pin, no trigger. I don't know.
Yeah, his TSS is going to be full of glitter this year.
Hey, listen, I'll pay for his loads if you do that to him. Honestly, I think that would be the greatest thing. Tell me where to send the Venmo to, and I'll take care of that.
Yeah.
You know what?
Oh man.
Ship them up here. I'll film the turkey hunt. Send them with crappy glitter loads, and we'll put it all. We'll make it viral, right?
Oh, dude, you can bet your ass if he sees me hitting record on my phone while we're hunting, he better eject and put another round in, because it's gonna look like a freaking cloud of rainbows across the hillside.
I think that I might have to go with a different ammo company now that we're thinking about it. No. I guess that's what keeps it fun, right? That's what good old hunting buddies are for.
Yep, exactly. Builds character.
That's right. Aaron, why don't you tell us some of the new things that are kind of going on at Sattie's now? Because there's been like a big change. You've gone through a lot. You've been very busy, and just a lot of new things going on for Sattie's than the last time that we chatted.
Yeah. As you guys are aware, last year was our first year in official production. So we got the ball rolling last year. First year is always a learning curve. So we didn't know what to expect, when to expect, how to expect it. So we spent a lot of time making sure that we kept our customers happy. You only get one opportunity to make a first impression, and I made a promise to myself and to my customers to make sure that, I'm not going to ruin that opportunity with anyone. On the flip side, that limited a lot of my hunting time, but what it did is it gave me a realistic, idea of what it was going to entail, with us moving forward. So, learn on the first year, know on the next. If for people that, who had seen our setup and stuff last year, and look, I'll be 100% transparent. Even if somebody was to walk in, to my setup and stuff right now, we're a family-owned company. I literally do 99% of everything from cradle to grave. To where I'm talking with customers every day. I'm writing the orders down. I'm loading the shelves. I'm writing on every single shell. I'm writing on every single box, packing, shipping, everything. Um, and literally, I mean, last year, I mean, we were very blessed last year. I mean, as you're aware, I mean, even this year, I mean, we don't have any marketing, we don't have any, fancy boxes. I mean, people know the handwritten white boxes. And it kind of became a staple, and I kind of laughed about it at first, but it's become a brand recognition. It
Right.
really within the first year, and that kind of that really blew my mind, and because I mean I've racked my head on I'm like, man, I really need to get these boxes made up and stuff like that. And it seems like every single person that I talk to, just says they're like, dude, if we see a white box with handwritten, we don't even have to read it. We know it's
Mm-hmm.
a Sattie's box. And I'm like, man, I've already established my brand recognition with my boxes without even establishing it. And I thought that was pretty neat. But literally, I mean, everything is handwritten. I mean every single shell, I mean, I'm writing on it. And I tell you what, I'm not gonna lie, it was an eye opener whenever waterfowl season came around, because I go from a box of 5 of turkey loads to a box of 25 for waterfowl, and then all of a sudden I have guys ordering cases, and I'm doing 250 rounds, I mean, case after case after case, and I'm like, holy shit. I mean, buddy, that's a lot of handwork. I mean, it is. It's a lot of handwork. But what it did was is it made me very efficient at my process. It made me be able to take the step back and like, okay, what can I do to make my process more streamlined and better, and literally not affect the quality of the process. And that's my background.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've talked to you guys kind of sidebarred with it, being an engineer, with sizing up systems and stuff like that. I mean, I'm a numbers guy, and processes, workflows, procedures, standard operating procedures, and stuff like that. And it's lean manufacturing, Six Sigma. I mean, that's my background. Repeatability and reproducibility and consistency. And that's what we put into our ammo. So it's as everything's going through, going across the table, and I'm looking at the board of orders, coming in, and as I'm setting everything up, it made me realize there's a lot of things that I can do in my process to streamline it and make it more efficient. And even for our second year, we are, we're still pretty much guaranteeing that, because I didn't realize the lead times on some of these other companies are getting pretty extended. And I'm not knocking them. I mean, to me, I mean, that, as an industry, that's a great thing. That tells me that they're super busy.
Right.
And I'm happy for them. I mean, I'm not going to knock any company. It's like, oh man, you can't get your orders out, for 3 weeks. Well, that's their process. I mean, that's on them. But also, they might be tenfold to what I'm doing. So, but what that's made me realize is I'm still getting orders out. And I'm still, every single one of my customers gets shipping notifications and the tracking information, within a handful of days of their order.
Mm-hmm.
Once they pay for their order, I take it as, that's when the clock starts on me. And once everything, once it's paid for and once it's on, in my hands, I got to get it out the door. I try to guarantee anywhere between 48 to 72 hours after the order that you're getting a shipping notification. But the reality of it is, you know what, if I run out of TSS in the middle of the orders, man, I can't have it. I can't have it next day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I don't know if most of you guys know, but the TSS isn't, it isn't made in the United States. It's made overseas. So you're working with these distributors and stuff, overseas distributors, on getting that tungsten in. And if they don't have it in, and if they don't have it in inventory at the time, man, you create a backlog very fast, in your process.
So
But
why isn't it
that's
made
what
in
we're
the
focused.
United States? Why isn't it made in the United States though?
I really don't know. I don't know if it's because, I mean, and just going back to my machining background, and with whenever I'm priced out a job in the machine shop, and you're looking at the commodities and stuff like that, and the what type of material and stuff like that is coming in. I mean, you're able to go to metal companies,
Mm-hmm.
and get that. Why tungsten isn't, I have no idea. And my day job, with being an engineer and in sales and stuff like that. I work in the pump industry. So I work with everything from small submersible pumps, for smaller commercial application, to boiler feed pumps for power plants, and sizing up those applications and making sure that you're getting the right head and flow. And long story short, but you also have to seal those type of pumps, and that's where I'm familiar with tungsten, because you start getting into mechanical seals and sealing applications on those pumps, and you have these different metallurgies, that you combine the two to help seal, and minimize leaks,
Right.
in pumps. So, but same concept. Even with them, even in the pump industry, that tungsten is not made in the United States. It's made overseas. I mean, I've seen it. Well, I mean, for the past 10 years that I've been in that position. I mean, yeah. I mean, if they don't have the tungsten, like seal faces or the TSS in inventory in the U.S., you better start looking for alternative options, because it's not going to be anytime soon.
Was there a big through COVID? Was there a big problem with the importing of that stuff? Like, was there a lack of it at any point?
I really think there was, but I think the good thing is I think a lot of the distributors in the United States, that saw that, so they increased their orders, knowing
Mhm.
that they wasn't sure when they were going to be able to get the next.
So
So
there wasn't a lack of it.
no, no,
Yeah.
from what I saw,
Right.
I mean, now, and the reason why I say that is, through the COVID time, that was really whenever I was getting to the point of my friends and my peers, and saying, dude, you're not a hobbyist on this. You really need to take this and do something with this.
Right.
And that was during the COVID time. So last year was whenever I finally, they put enough boots in my ass to be like, dude, you're either in or you're out.
Right.
You either have to take this serious and do it and do something with it, because it's your passion, or it's only forever going to be a hobby.
You're like the mad scientist with it. Why wouldn't you want to do it as a full time? Like it's crazy to me because it's mind blowing because I'll message you and be like, "Hey Aaron, this is my idea. What do you think? Like this is what I want to do with my gun, or this is the choke I want to do." And you'll be like, "Yeah, all right, 7.5 shot, this payload, you're good to go. Here you go." And you send it, and then you put it on paper, and it's right there, and you're just like, "How did he figure that out?"
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's where, honestly, I mean, that's where I said, I mean, because the podcast that we did last year,
Mm-hmm.
man. I mean, man, I enjoyed that. We geeked out. I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
geeked out. We talked about a lot of stuff that a lot of companies won't talk about.
Right.
you know and I think a lot of people don't understand that, okay, even though that I'm just a little Joe Blow, little family owned, shop. I'm a, I'm the one man wolf pack, and but what they don't realize is that we're not just slapping shit together. I mean, we're not. I mean, we're taking this stuff serious. I mean, I have ballistic calculators on my computer, to where I can calculate out, I mean, the G's per cc, of the weight and the velocity and the energy and the amount of penetration that I want to get. And then I want to compare that. If you remember from our
Oh yeah,
podcast last year,
100%. An inch and a half. I remember all this. Oh yeah.
yeah, exactly. And if I want to get 100, if I want to get 100 pellets within a 10-inch circle, okay, where's my range on that? And know that I'm 100% lethal at this range with this ammo. 100% of the time, that if you send it at that range, you will kill. And that's, to me, I feel like that's my responsibility. I mean, as an ammo manufacturer, because I mean, there's a lot of people that and look, I'm as blue collar as a lot of other guys and stuff out there, and man, whenever you start getting into turkey loads and choke tubes and stuff like that, shit gets expensive fast.
Quick.
I mean, it gets expensive real fast, and I mean, and if you're running a $200 Stevens 301 20 gauge, and then you're buying $100 choke, it's 50% of the cost of the gun, and then you're putting an optic on it that's $150 at least to $200. It's the same price as the gun. Then you're okay. Now you want me to buy $50-$60 for 5 shells, and it might not work, and then I'm buying another $50-$60, and then I'm buying another $50-$60, and it's like it can get overwhelming. And that's why I think a lot of people really key in on some of these companies that have YouTube channels and stuff like that do a lot of pattern testing for you, which is great. Which I mean, I'm a firm believer in it as well too, because they do a lot of the legwork, but they don't do the legwork with your gun.
Right. Every
And a
gun's
lot of people
different,
still
right?
have, yeah, exactly. I mean, all three of us could run a Mossberg Bantam 500, 20 gauge right now. And I guarantee if we all went to the range with the exact same setup and the exact same loads, we're still going to see a little bit of difference. Yours might be shoot a little bit better than mine. My point of aim versus point of impact might be a little bit different. You're going to see these 20 little, minor differences, within the setups. And that's what you got to find out. That's the pieces of the puzzle that you got to figure out. And, and I've always told guys as well too, yes, I'm an ammo manufacturer, but I'll be the first to admit, if you figured out what your shotgun likes, if it ain't broke, don't mess with it.
Nope.
Don't mess with it. If it likes long beard number 5s and you are peppering that target at 40 yards, or more importantly, however you're hunting, the style and the method that you're hunting, if you're running ridges in thick timber and stuff like that, you probably don't want a solid 40-yard pattern. I mean, and we've kind of geeked out about that before as well too, about over and under shotguns and stuff and the benefits of them. I mean, because you can have your short and long range, almost just like how you set it up for waterfowl, And
the other thing a lot of people don't understand too with that is over choking, where you can over choke a gun, and guys don't realize that. Like, they'll say and they'll go, all right, I want the tightest choke possible. I want to do a 5.55, but that 5.55 with a certain shot might not be the shot where you're over choking, and now it's completely open and you're throwing it out the window.
Exactly, and that's why a lot of the times I try to, I try to stay, up on a lot of different pages on Facebook and stuff like that. The Stevens 301 page, the TSS shooters page, and you name it. I mean, there's a ton of them out there, but and that's why a lot of people get fixated on the shoot and see targets. That's an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. That's fine. I want to see what the rest of the target is doing, what the rest of your pattern is doing. I want to see if it's spraying all the way to the left, to where then that tells me that, okay, your wad is tumbling, in flight, and it's flinging, your ammo. So it might be a choke thing, it might be a wad thing, it might be a wad cut. It could be there's 20 other little things that a lot of people, they're fixated on seeing what the shooting see on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, when I want to see on literally a 36-inch by 36-inch sheet of paper. That's what I want to see. I'm more worried about what's going on all around that target.
So see if there's holes in the pattern or what the
Yeah,
case may be.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and I've literally even seen some patterns to where I've looked at, and maybe it's just irony. I mean, I can't really say, but you can literally, tell. I'm like, that wad's a four slit wad, and they're like, how do you know? I'm like, look at the lines of your shot. You can count. You can almost count them. And it's like, and then you find that, the wad on the ground, between the target net, and you're able to look at it like, yeah, it's a four slit wad.
What is it, throwing the shot in that star pattern kind of because of the four slits
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
of the
Or if you think about it, whenever it's coming out, your wad is split. So what it's doing is probably releasing between the splits, because and that wad isn't carrying anything else, So I mean, I'm assuming I
right.
could be completely full of shit,
Right.
but I
Hey, it
mean,
sounds good. Theory, great.
well, but whenever you can look at a pattern, and it's like, okay, you almost have like an X. I mean, if,
Right.
if you look at a spray, and then all of a sudden you got one 180 from it, and then you got another spray, and you got another one 180 from it, and it's like, well, okay, all right, and but a lot of that, too, I take a lot of that information into, back to whenever I'm, doing our loads, that, I mean, even, if I'm hand loading, everything, which I am, and if I'm, literally getting uncut wads and stuff like that, I'm very conscious of, one, the cuts, the consistency of the depth of them. I mean, and man, you can change a lot of things. A lot of people think, the shot, the shell is the shell, and the choke is the choke. Man, there's a lot of stuff that goes on inside that shell that you can really manipulate a lot of stuff about. And you're talking in increments of a 16th of an inch. I mean, and pressure, and I mean, you can change the pressure of the detonation. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it that can really change it. And I think what happens sometimes too is if you are, and I'm not knocking any company at all, but if you're not conscious of it, you know, I can tell you right now, on assembly line, not every single one of those is being tested and checked.
And
So
I think that's kind of one of the important things, like we were talking before, is that like every shell that goes into a white box is touched by you. Every
yeah,
single grain of powder rolls through your fingers. Every BB, everything is all underneath your scope of eye, where you're putting that 100% perfection into it. Like, I know damn right if I call a gobbler into 20 yards and I pull that trigger, it's gonna die, because I know that Aaron at one point sat behind that press and put that down. Like, I believe in it, you know what I'm saying? Like, I
yeah,
don't have to worry
yeah,
about it, like there's some points where with some shells in the past that you're like, well, what am I doing wrong? And it might just be the shell. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're shooting,
yeah,
when you're snow goose hunting and you're shooting Kent loads and you're going through 1,000 rounds and you're like, oh, well, I missed that one. Big deal. But in all reality it was just a production line shot. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
like I don't have to worry
Right.
about it. And we put in all of this time and all of this effort to try and find birds, to try and find, ducks, trying to find all this stuff. Like, why wouldn't you believe in something that somebody put the same passion that you did into finding the game as your ammunition or your guns?
Yeah.
Like, why? Why wouldn't you? Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand it. You put it all on the line, put it in the hands of somebody who actually has the same passion that you do all the way through to finish the job. That's my opinion on it, honestly.
Yeah, and it's funny you say, because I ask for feedback from all of my customers. I mean, when I talk to them, and not only that, but I mean, and you guys might know that we still don't have our website up and going, but in a way, it's kind of a blessing in disguise. I really wanted our website to be up and going for this year, but on the flip side too is what it has done is it has made me take a step back and rethink the process of a website.
Right.
Because anybody can go onto a website and buy a box of ammo. I mean, yeah, pick whatever manufacturer you want.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what we're about. I mean, we're about, if somebody gets a hold of me, I want to know the make and model of shotgun that you're shooting. I want to know the choke and the constriction that you're shooting. I want to know the type of, hunting that you are doing. Are you setting up on field edges? Or are you a ridge runner? What, what is your range? Okay. I mean, what are you looking to get out of it? Are you looking are you looking to bust a turkey at 70 yards? Or you want something that's going to freaking pepper them at 30 and in, because you set your own personal limitations to where you're not going to shoot a bird past 30 yards,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. You don't get that on a website. Yeah, I mean, you pick what what gauge, what length, and what shot size you want, and you order the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and what I like to offer my customers, they're talking to me. I'm the one that's even loading their ammo.
Right.
And I take that information that they give me and I put it into their ammo. I literally had a guy call me yesterday, and he wanted our 12 gauge 3-inch, 2 1/4 load. I'll be the first to admit, I hands down, I will arguably say that our 12 gauge 3-inch 2 1/4 ounce load is probably one of the most stoutest loads on the market because one, I know what is in it. I know what it's capable of, and I know I can't put another half grain of powder in that damn thing, or that son of a bitch is going to detonate. Guys pick those shells up, and they're like, "Dude, that is the tightest freaking shell I've ever felt in my life." I said, "I can't fit another freaking pellet in the damn thing." I'm like, I mean, when I say it's a max out load, it kicks ass on both ends. Okay, and it was so funny because I had the guy get a hold of me yesterday, and he said, "Dude," he goes, "I shot those shells." He goes, "I'm not gonna lie." He goes, "They are unreal." He goes, "They pattern unreal." He goes, "But I'm not gonna lie." He goes, "I'm worried about my gun." and, and he goes, I'm worried about my. He goes, "Those are the hardest kicking 3-inch shells I've ever shot in my life." I said, "Well, they should be because they're charged with a 3.5-inch load. You're shooting a 3.5-inch and a 3-inch shell."
Yep.
And that's why I told him, I said, you're not going to find a stouter one than that. I'm telling you. And he even asked me, he goes, "Look," he goes, "I'm going to come back." He goes, "I'm going to buy 5 boxes." He goes, "Would you be willing to scale the powder charge back on it?" Absolutely. So I'm going to scale the powder charge back for him on that, and that's, you're not going to get that on a website,
I,
you know?
I think that people need stuff like that because that's the olden days, right? Like, I'll take it back even more, right? So, like, I work for a hometown butcher, right? And people walk in and they're like, "Oh, I want a prime rib, whatever, 1-inch, whatever." And it's important, right? But you don't see that in the outdoor world where somebody can reach out to somebody and say, "Hey, listen," and I shoot an odd, like myself, I shoot a very odd gun, right? And I say to you, Aaron, this is my deal. This is what I'm shooting. This is what I'm doing. And you go, okay, this is what you need. You need X, Y, and Z. You don't need a 3.5 inch, Trevor. You can shoot a 3 inch. It'll be okay. And we're gonna maximize the load, and then we're gonna put, you know what I'm saying? So like, it's important because I think that a lot of people don't understand, and I think that with social media and the stage that it's in today, there's a lot of people that have an opinion. They put on there and they say, "Oh, you got to shoot a 3.5 inch #1." Like,
And Trev, I'm so glad you said that, because it's almost like a stigmatism, of the industry, and it's like, man, it's got to be 12 gauge 3.5. I still have people asking me for 10 gauge TSS. I'm like, what? I'll make it. You're not going to like the price.
Are we shooting elephants?
I don't know what you're shooting, for the love of God.
Yes.
But and I'm like, dude, I don't get it. I mean, whenever, and look, I'm not bragging. You guys know that, because I mean, we've done it. My friends have done it. And, I mean, we don't broadcast it because people would chastise you, but whenever you can drop a bird at over 80 yards with a 20 gauge 2.75 inch shell, what else do I need?
Right.
I mean, and people were like, "Oh, that's unethical." And no, I know my ammo, I know my gun, I know what it's capable of, and I've done the research and the engineering behind it to know what it's capable of. So it's no different than somebody going out and long range shooting and long range hunting and shooting an elk at 950 yards.
Right.
They're not just doing that on day one. I guarantee they're shooting groups at that range. I mean, well before they go on that hunt.
We test them. We use them. We know what the gun is capable of. Like, we were at Steve's house last year before season. We already knew our guns. We hunted a whole season already. We had already shot, between the two of us, 10 birds with satties, right? The year before. Last year, what did we do? We sighted in with satties again, just to make sure that we're capable. We're shooting at 50, 60 yards. We shoot them at 20. We know our pattern, but we already knew our pattern. We already shot it, but we want, just to, hey, just have that confidence booster. We know that the shot, we got a couple of shots, whatever the case may be. I mean, there was a case the year before, not last season, the year before. Me and Steve were hunting. I shoot a bird at, say, 20 yards over and under, right? And I got my Indian Creek 5.55, and I see the bird out there, but Steve couldn't see it. He was sitting in the bushes. And I'm like, "Steve, you want me to shoot that? You want me to shoot that?" And he's like, "Yeah, kill it." And it's at, Steve, what was that, 50 yards, 55 yards? And you just pump the second round into it, knowing that you can make the shot, shoot a double, and it's out there at 55. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, know what you're capable of. You know what the shot is. It's
and that's the thing that I tell a lot of people. I can tell them. I said, I can geek out as much as anybody wants, and I'm happy to talk to any customer as much as they want, and I can give them as much information as I can. But still, at the end of the day, they have to do their due diligence, and they have to know their gun. They have to know what it's capable of. I can't do that for them. Nobody can do that for them, regardless of how many YouTube channels there is about pattern testing and stuff like that. You still got to know your gun, and that's the point that I'm trying to make as well too. I mean, with what we're able to achieve with TSS loads and stuff like that, why wouldn't a manufacturer approach it like how you would with custom rifle ammunition? It should be approached that way. I mean, because that's the realm that we're getting into. I'm not saying that every TSS is meant for long range and stuff like that, but no, we are becoming that fine-tuned and that accurate within the industry. We still have to do our own homework to know exactly what we're going to be doing.
Right.
I mean, if you have you could have a long range rifle that you could cloverleaf with, if I get behind it, I don't know that gun.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, and it's going to be a totally different learning curve. You know, it's no different if you change ammo. Guess what? Your point of aim, point of impact changes. You know, do you know where you're hitting? I mean, with your hunting loads. And that's people just have to do their homework. I mean, we'll help out as much as you possibly can, but you got to have the range time. You got to know what your gun's capable of.
Well, you don't see an archery hunter just go buy a dozen arrows and not shoot them and practice with them or whatever, or they change to a higher grain or whatever the case may be. They're shooting them. They know what it's capable of at what yardage, what's the distance in the pins. Like, they're doing all the research. It's the same thing with a turkey gun. You can't just go buy a box of shells, put an extra full into it, pull the trigger and hope, because you do see that where like guys are like, it might not pattern right. Like, that's just life.
Well, exactly. And that's one of the reasons why I enjoy, talking to customers. If people are willing to reach out to me, I feel that it's my responsibility to give them, an ample amount of time, that they've already provided me. They've already took the time and the energy to be able to reach out.
Mm-hmm.
It's my turn to give them the respect, to give them a good answer.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I talk to people, and like I mentioned that before, if it ain't broke, don't mess with it.
Right.
If you're shooting, I have nothing against long beards, and to be honest, I am thoroughly surprised that another major manufacturer hasn't come up with something that competes with that shot lock technology. They own the market on that. I mean, if you're going to shoot copper plated lead or something, what are you going to shoot? Long beards. There is no other question.
I think I don't think that there's a round in the United States that has killed more turkeys ever than Longbeard XR. I mean, honestly.
In how short of a time? Because
yeah,
for sure.
I mean, and you think about it. I mean, lead's killed a lot of damn birds.
Mm-hmm.
But what has Longbeard done in their short amount of time in production? Holy cow!
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is no discussion about any other loads.
Nope.
I mean, if you're not shooting, it's almost like if you're not shooting TSS, you're shooting Longbeard.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
100%.
That's the parallel. Comparison. And I'll be the first to admit, if somebody gets a hold of me and says, man, look, and they'll send me a pattern, man, look what my Longbeard does, at 40 yards, and if there's a Longbeard, 3.5 inch number 5. Okay, well, why are you changing?
Yeah, why are we having a conversation?
Dude, I would shoot that.
Right.
At Midway USA, we know the AR-15 is one of the most popular rifles in modern American history. Known for its modularity and widespread use, it's often considered essential to any gun collection. The essential things you need to run an AR-15 are usually always in stock during shortages, things like magazines and 5.56 ammo. Whether you're looking to buy a new AR-15 or buy parts for your modern sporting rifle, log on and for just about everything for the outdoors, shop MidwayUSA.com. Midway USA brand product designers have one straightforward goal: develop high-quality, technically sound products and deliver them to customers at reasonable prices. If you are immersed in the shooting sports industry and pay close attention to every single detail, you know our products are built right and stand up to everyday use. Who has shooting mats and range bag systems to hunting clothing and just about everything for the outdoors? Log on and shop 24/7 with super fast shipping. MidwayUSA.com. The 1911 is one of the most iconic firearms in history. Designed by John Browning, the 1911 was the standard issue sidearm of the U.S. military from 1911 to 1985. While Colt produced the original, almost every major firearm company has produced its own version. It's wildly revered for its reliability, crisp trigger, and is still a favorite for all types of shooters. Whether you're looking to buy or build a 1911 and just about everything for guns, log on to MidwayUSA.com. Knives, machetes, saws, and shears, multi-tools, shovels, swords, axes, spears, hatchets, and tomahawks. If it cuts, snips, slices, or chops, Midway USA has it. Find great gift ideas in our huge selection of pocket knives and other everyday carry folding knives. Make a statement or create a family legacy with one of our top-of-the-line hunting knives. We've got a great selection of manual and electric sharpeners too. For just about everything for the outdoors, check out midwayusa.com.
You know, I mean, if it ain't broke, don't mess with it, you know?
So that's kind of like, so I have a 12 gauge pump, 887, killed 1 million animals with this gun, right? But that's my backup turkey gun. So if anyone is to come turkey hunt with me that doesn't turkey hunt, we give them the 12 gauge pump with a Longbeard XR choke in it and a box of Longbeards and have at it. Like, I'm not going to change that. But if you want to build something different, if you want to come down and gauge 410, 20 gauge, that's when you start to mess around. It's more just playing around with different things when you get into that TSS.
And that's where you start reaping the benefits, you know, and that's why I enjoy talking to customers, you know. I mean, people don't know what they don't know, you know. I mean, it's not their fault.
Right.
But what, you know, that's one of the reasons why I like talking to a lot of my customers and stuff is whenever they talk about, you know, hey, I'm running Longbeard number 5s, Longbeard number 6s, and you know, they're like, what would you recommend? You know, and I respect them because, you know, one, they're giving me the opportunity to give my opinion, and I'm like, man, I'd run a, you know, 12 gauge 2 3/4 inch, you know, 9s, and they're like, what? They're like, I shoot 3.5 inch number 5s. I'm like, yeah, I'd run 2 3/4 inch number 9s. And they're like, what about 7s? I think it's overkill. You know, and I said, you know, does your state have a, you know, restriction on shot size? No, but then I'd run 9s. Don't you think that's a little small? Then I get into the, you know, I'm like, okay. You know, do you know how much energy a number 9 shot is carrying compared to your number 5, you know, in lead? You know, and I go, you know, I'm like, okay, I can carry the same energy that you're currently shooting right now, but instead of, you know, let's say, you know, almost 400 pellets, I'm going to give you almost 850 pellets. So I'm going to double your payload, but you're not going to lose anything. And plus, I'm going to give you it into a smaller shell. You know, and then all of a sudden people get quiet. You know, and it's like, dude, yeah, fathom that. I'm giving you, you know, I mean, 2-ounce load. I'm giving you 800 pellets. You know, 800 plus pellets. You know, down range. That's a hornet's nest. And yeah, those little 9s are going to equal out to, you know, the same energy of your 5.6, you know, in copper plated lead. And it is hard to fathom, but I mean, that's, they're almost 2 to 2.5 times, you know, denser than the lead that they're shooting. And that's where you get into density and the, you know, velocity and energy and all of that.
So I do have a question that you know, and my mind works so crazy, right? So like, when you shoot, say I shoot a number 9, okay, and you're saying that the density and the weight or whatever, what is the effective range with that, as far as like how far does that load go? Because like if you had, and I'm just thinking distance, like, so like if I'm hunting in a tight knit area, right, and there's houses, whatever the case may be, and we think about it, and like with double 3.5 inch double BB, you're talking on a certain arc, you're talking 1,000 feet in carry. With it being a heavier load, how long does that carry 3 times farther than lead because it's heavy, or does it sink faster?
It doesn't necessarily carry further, but also you got to look into impact,
Right.
you know. So if you have, you know, let's say if I was, you know, if I went up to my wall here, you know, and this sheetrock, and I tried to put my fist through it, you know, it's going to take a lot of energy, you know, for me to be able to just push my fist through it. But if I grab this pencil and I go up to it and I hit this wall with my pencil, smaller diameter, what's going to penetrate easier?
The pencil.
Smaller diameter,
Right.
you know. there's your number 5.6 lead compared to your number 9 TSS.
Okay.
Okay. So, and that's what we try to get people to understand and realize is, because then you get into all of the, the science behind it of, okay, the, you know, the diameter, the energy, the friction, penetration, the force, and all of that.
The
That's
physics
a whole other
aspect of
realm,
it.
Yeah, but knowing that, and it's kind of funny, because we were talking about, bow hunting and stuff like that. Okay, what are a lot of people starting to go to? They're starting to go to the smaller diameter, arrows and stuff. Why? Less friction. Exactly. Wind deflection, stuff like that. It's kind of the same with TSS. It's no different. It's in flight, just like an arrow is. So so you start taking that into account as well too. So
Listen, I'm already sold on it. So
yeah, thankfully I am too.
yeah, right. No, it's just crazy. So with your waterfowl loads, are you doing tungsten also on the waterfowl loads?
We're doing, this past year, it was a trial year.
Okay.
With waterfowl. And what I wanted to make sure with waterfowl, because there's a variety, turkey, look, let's be honest, you're doing tungsten, you're doing payload. So you're doing different weights of payloads and stuff like that. Waterfowl, okay, now you got steel, you got bismuth, you have we experimented a lot with titanium nitride coated tungsten core pellet, a 10 tin coated pellet that's basically has the same density as heavy shot. If you remember the original heavy shot, about 12 G per cc, density on that. We did a lot of testing. We did a lot of testing on that, and then we started offering steel shot with a small mix of TSS, bismuth with a small mix of TSS, and then we even had people even ask, like, no, I want to run straight TSS. Now I don't need a heavy payload like turkey,
Right.
but you know what? If you can give me a 5/8 or 7/8 ounce load at a high velocity on that, I'll shoot that all day long. I'm like, well, okay. So we did that. So, but we kept it intentionally. We kept it really scaled back because one, I knew that it would spread like wildfire, kind of in varieties, and we wouldn't be able to control it and sustain it. So we were very conscious of what we offered and how much we offered in each, each option. So we did have a lot of people say, hey man, man, do you have this? I could do it, but I'm not going to do it right now. Okay, not this year. Now we do offer this, and this. And they were okay with an alternative. But that's what we were, that for waterfowl, that's what we were doing, because I really wanted to focus and fine tune, per se, a handful of different varieties and really focus on them and make them stellar. And I, and look, we had a lot of people get a hold of us and like, I just want to run steel shot. I just want to run bismuth. And we did that. And we made them reasonable, based on the market and stuff like that, we tried to be competitive, because it's not fair, even though that I'm hand loading everything and stuff like that by hand, one by one. It's not fair for me to, a straight steel load that somebody could buy for $25 for a box of 25 in the store, me offer it for 50. It's not logical. I mean, go buy 2 boxes in the store then. So we wanted to be consciously competitive of our pricing, on those, I don't want to say entry level, but I mean, your bread and butter loads for
Right.
waterfowl, that the majority of people use.
Right.
But we wanted to also offer, okay, well, if you're pissed off about, how steel shot, does for you, then why would you contact me and want me to load steel shot? So let's talk
Right.
let's talk about an alternative, that we can provide you that's going to be far more superior to what you usually shoot. I mean, don't ask for, if you're not happy with the results of what you're currently using, don't ask for the same thing, because you're not going to get a different result. So we worked with a lot of customers that way as well too, to where it's like, well, okay, well, why are you contacting us? Why are you wanting us to make ammunition? We're like, well, because steel shot sucks. Well, okay, well, I hope you're not going to ask me for steel shot then.
Right, because you're not happy with steel shot.
Yeah. What do you want? I mean, do you want to bump up to bismuth? Do you want steel shot mixed with a little bit of tungsten? Do you want to try a whole different, a whole different type of pellet? And just once again, that kind of goes back to the website thing, to where that's why we really want to focus on establishing our website more as an experience and a knowledge center. You can go anywhere and buy ammo, but can you go to any website and gain knowledge and gain, information, and talk to people, and and throw ideas out and stuff like. We want our website to become an experience, and we still want our customer. Will we still offer, your standard loads and stuff like that on the website? Yeah, we're going to set them up to be out there, to where if somebody knows what they want, hey, I want a 20 gauge 1 5/8 ounce load of 9s. They're going to be out there,
right?
You can buy them off of the website, but they're still going to be for those other people. You know what? I've shot that for years, man. I'd love to try a duplex load, or I'd love to try some heavier TSS, or something crazy or off. Call us, talk to us. I mean, that's what I'm here for. Talk to me. Tell me what tell me what your thoughts and ideas are. Because look, I'm the first to admit too, I want to learn as well. And if I go about this with closed ears and with tunnel vision on, man, to me that's crazy. I'm not listening to the people. I'm not listening to the market, and I can guarantee there's always going to be plenty of other people out there that's a hell of a lot more knowledgeable than I am. So I know that there's still a lot for me to learn out there, on the market from people, and I'm only going to be able to do that by talking through things with them. But we're now offering 28 gauge and 16 gauge. So we're offering 410s, 28s, 20s, 16 gauge, 12 gauge, and 10 gauge.
You're killing me. Now I got to build a new gun, maybe in 28 gauge for this season, Aaron. Come on. You're killing me.
Dude, and I gotta over and under 28 gauge, and I tell you what, she talks to me.
What is it? What is it?
She talks. It's funny. Mine is a Mossberg Silver Reserve.
I have a Silver Reserve. Yes. It's a great gun.
I tell you what, for the price, between that and a Stevens 555. Those damn guns are hard to beat. I mean, Look, nothing against any other gun, but I tell you what, the funny thing about it is whenever guys talk to me, and I mean, I've been in, I grew up behind the counter of a family-owned gun shop, and I've done gunsmithing for decades. My guns are blue collar.
Mm-hmm.
I hunt with the Stevens 301 20 gauge for turkeys. I the most expensive gun that I have is a gun that I built, and it's a custom 1911 45 ACP. Uh, I mean, I have never bought a shotgun over, I've never bought a shotgun over $700. I mean,
Right. It's a tool.
man, I never have. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying that I don't want
Right.
one, man. I will take a Franke Affinity A3 left-handed 20 gauge right now, because I tell you what, I was looking at them.
Anyone's got one, send it on over to Aaron.
Man, but I just, I'll grab a $200 gun and I'll get it done.
I
I mean, that's me.
It's funny. So, I shoot that Beretta White Wing, which is a semi-expensive gun. They don't make them anymore. It was
I love them. I love those guns.
a smooth swinging light gun, right? Super cool. I got it because I was a big upland hunter. Had Brittany Spaniels my whole entire life, pointing dogs. Was a big upland guy, and the thing just sat in the corner of the safe. And I'm like, what am I gonna do with this thing? So I made a turkey gun out of it. But to be honest with you, the gun that I was gonna build, honestly, was a CZ I think it's the all terrains, the Cerakoted green ones. Like, talk about
CZ ultralight.
Yeah, talk about a gun
Oh,
for a price point. I was gonna, because it was Cerakoted, was gonna be a killer like sea duck gun in the salt water. Like, I was like, dude, that's gonna be the perfect gun. And I was like, they're not all that heavy. They're cool swinging gun. I'm like, I'll get it in an over and under, and I'll just it'll be another badass turkey gun. Like, why not? Like, I love the over and under option.
Yeah, and the funny thing about it is, because I'm thinking about doing that with my shotgun, I'm thinking about doing it with another friend's shotgun. Well, as a matter of fact, I am doing it with another friend's shotgun. I got it broken down right now, and I'm going to be spraying it probably tomorrow. But that's what we're doing. That's exactly what we're doing. It's an aluminum receiver, but it's a brushed alloy, so you still have that silver receiver on it, which looks good. But in the same breath, a lot of people are very conscious of that in the turkey woods, and they don't want that. So I'm hitting it. I'm hitting it with some Cerakote tomorrow. With a matte earth brown. To be able to kill that out.
Right.
So.
It's crazy. There's so many sub $500 guns out there that are incredible for doing different little tiny things with and building. I mean, Steve hunts with a 500 Youth. I mean, it's just they're cool little guns, man.
Dude, I don't want to say building one right now, but I set my boy up with one, and man, I was thoroughly impressed with it. That thing with an Indian Creek 555 shoots straight eights that will just annihilate birds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it patterns like it's shooting nines.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got the extra, density and energy of the eights. And he killed his first bird last year over in Indiana, during youth season. And I didn't realize how far it was. And I told him, I said, man, if you're comfortable with it, send it. And man, he shot, and that bird, it rolled that bird. And we started walking toward that bird. And once we were about 10 to 15 yards into the walk, I started counting my steps. And I'm like, it was probably it was every bit of 55 plus yards.
Wow.
And that bird crumbled. I mean, it crumbled, and then all the jakes had a feast fest,
right,
spurring the living shit out of it,
mm-hmm.
But man, it just, the 2 3/4 inch, 1 5/8 ounce, eights, and those eights just tore him up. I mean, even looking at, because he was facing head on whenever he shot, clear through the breast into the chest cavity, clear through the head, and I'm like, okay, at that range, I was like, that's impressive. That is impressive, and but that's what his gun likes, So I'm putting together another one that's almost going to replicate his, but I get to go through the process of finding out what it likes. It might not like straight H, but I'm going to run whatever the hell it likes, but one of the things that I did want to bring up, to you guys as well too, because we had, and man, it became a big hit late in the season. I mean, well, once we already had you guys set up with your ammo and stuff like that, but for whatever reason, we really started getting hit with a lot of questions about uh mild recoiling rounds, or hey, I want to take my son out, and so we developed a reduced recoil load, for smaller shooters or recoil sensitive shooters and stuff like that in that 20 gauge. We call our 20 gauge 2 3/4 ounce, 2 3/4 inch shell. We call it our bread and butter. And the reason why we call it that is that's what I personally use. That's what a lot of my friends use. That's what my boy uses. It hands down has probably killed more birds than all of our other loads combined. It was our first tried and true load that we really implemented. That we sent out the friends to try, that was using 20 gauges, and it just, man, it hit. And you guys seen it.
That's what
That's
I
what you
use.
guys
That's what
use.
I shoot.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And but what we did was we took that load and we just spent a lot of time at the range, and we just started in increments. And it goes back to like what I was talking about how we approach shotgun loading, like how we do with rifle ammunition. If you've ever set up a ladder load, for rifle, on determining, on different powder charges, and you'll see your groups expand, contract, with these different 3-shot groups, and we do the same thing with shotguns. So what we did was we started, incrementally just scaling the powder back, and to the point to where we, on the range, we noticed a noticeable difference in recoil, and I'll be damned what it did to the patterns. The patterns, man, it just settled down. It settled in, consistent. The 20 gauge 1 5/8 ounce load, and we load it with 9.5s. The reason why we do it, we just bump it up from 9s to 9.5s, because a lot of the times with either youth hunters and stuff like that, your distance is going to be a little bit shorter. You're going to keep your range within more reason. So we increased our pellet count, but what we also did was we managed the recoil on it, and on a 41-yard pattern, we were able to produce 457 pellets in a 10-inch circle at 41 yards.
And you think that that's a very good effective range, like as far as penetration too, with that 41 yards?
Absolutely, because we went back into the ballistics calculator, based on the energy of the pellets and the velocity, because we ran everything over a chronograph, took the velocity on that with the energy of the pellets, and the velocity of the pellets and the density of the pellets, and we were able to calculate it out to where you could still easily effectively kill birds over 60 yards.
Oh man, I might have to do some of that for the old shoulders.
And to be completely honest, if I'm running 20 gauge, if I'm not taking that 28 gauge over and under, I'm going to take that youth load out, because I really think that we found something, in that load, for youth, smaller shooters, recoil sensitive shooters. or for someone, you know what, that just look how it compares to other you're really not losing anything. You really aren't. But whenever you physically compare it to our standard 2 3/4 ounce, you can physically feel the difference in recoil. And we're really happy about that load. Really, really happy about it.
I think it's kind of cool because, like, one of the things that, when it comes to turkey hunting, even as a young kid, like, you'd grab the 12 gauge, it would have 3.5-inch Magnum turkey loads in it, and you knew what you were in for. So, like,
Yeah.
I think, and my dad would just be like, "Buck up, Sonny. It is what it is. We're going turkey hunting." Like that's just the truth of it. Like, it is what it is. Like, you're like, "Oh, I know I have to shoot nitro mag 3.5-inch." Like, it's just life. But to, like, hear that you have something a little bit different, it's actually kind of cool to hear that guys can go out turkey hunting and not have to worry about their shoulder falling off, even at a young age.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. And still send a hornet's nest
Mhm.
downrange. I mean, that was, and what that, excuse me, and what that did is that really opened our eyes up to, well, okay, well, if we're doing this with 20 gauge, why are we doing it with 12s? Why
Right.
why do 12s have to beat the hell out of you?
It's true. Maybe we can do it with
They,
tens too. Maybe I'll.
yeah, right. A 7.5 ounce load, you're running at 300 feet per second. I mean, it's freaking ridiculous.
Steve, I think we should
But
hunt with 10 gauges this year. What do you think, Steve?
I think Mark tried to get us to do that in Maine last
No, it
year.
was a
Reels.
4 gauge. He
yeah,
tried
yeah.
getting us to shoot a
You
4
got you got
gauge.
yeah, you got to make sure that they're H&R single shots.
Yeah,
I mean,
He,
I mean, because you got to absorb everything that it wants to give.
it's funny, Aaron, you would actually kind of appreciate our turkey camp in Maine. So we decided we were going to shoot June birds, right, in Maine, because Maine's open until June. So we decided we're going to go up to turkey camp. We got turkey camp, a good friend of ours, Greg Andrews. He actually donated his camp for us, so we got to stay there. It's right near Mark's place. And so Mark goes and buys like these the 1800s muskets, like from like 4 gauge to 12 gauge, whatever. Yeah, and he's like, I think we should hunt with these. And it was tough enough, so we're like, we're not gonna hunt with them, but we'll shoot them, right? So he brings down this 4 gauge, and we're all gung ho. We're like, yeah, we'll shoot them. Just bring them down. And he brings them down. And I'm like, I ain't shooting that thing. Like, somebody in wool clothing marched around this country with this stupid thing. I'm not shooting that thing. I'm gonna blow up. This is acidine, right? So he ends up shooting it. Almost ends up on his ass. I'm like, nah, I'm all set, dude.
You're going Tyler Childers on freaking turkey. I'm shooting rock salt and nails.
Yeah, no, not happening. He
breaking out the blunderbuss.
Yeah, no, he shot it. I'm like, no. He's like, it's Independence or whatever, and I'm like, Memorial Day. I'm like, no, I'm all set, dude. I'm all set. You can have that. We did shoot the BMG. He brought the BMG 50 cal. That was enough. That woke up the camp. Like, that was wild.
I guarantee it.
Wild.
I guarantee it. Whenever I was younger and I was dumber and I didn't know what the hell I was doing, I ate the muzzle blast off of a 50 cal, and I swear to God, I felt my teeth tingle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know how you can feel your hair grow.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever whenever you get that rush, I felt it in my teeth. I was like, my God, man. I mean, it damn near buckled me. I mean, it screwed my equilibrium up,
He had it, and it has like the muzzle brake that like kind of like shoots back and sideways.
Yep. Oh, yeah. And I was standing right beside him. Man, send it downrange, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, that was dumb.
So he set it up. It's got a bipod on it, right? And it's on this like concrete shooting bench that they had, right? That's there. It's half broken up, right? And you put it on there. You shoot it on there, and then we put all kinds of. We had cameras everywhere, slow mo. There's fucking rocks and shit just flying everywhere. You had to like, dude, it's all in my face, and they're like, how did it feel? And I'm like, I feel like I was in the sand, and it just got.
You ate everything that was on the ground.
It was brutal, absolutely brutal. It was wild. It was absolutely wild. All right, Aaron, I got one last question for you, my friend. What drives you outdoors?
Should have knew this was coming.
Yeah, you probably should have. Yes.
Yeah. Nah. I tell you what, last year, whenever we started the business and, official, Satties, um, I literally went out hunting last year one time, but for myself, but I was able to take my boy out, my youngest boy out, and to see him take his first bird and to get him out and to get him, that expand his knowledge and to see him at these trade shows that, that we're part of, uh, dude, he will talk to somebody like he's known them. And to see that coming out of a 12-year-old, and just to walk the floor and talk to people and literally even talk to customers whenever they would come up to our booth and stuff like that. That's what it's all about. I mean, I look forward to living through. I would rather see him kill 10 birds to my one. And that's what it's all about. Because I tell you what, I mean, whether I'm under a car changing the oil or I'm in my loading room, loading up ammo, man, if I knew that he's standing beside me, he's absorbing everything that I'm doing. And if I ask a question, uh, he blows my mind. I'll be damned. He understands what's going on, and I think about that. I'm like, man, he's 12 years old. He turns 13 next month, and I'm like, if he continues down this path, by the time he graduates high school and with our company, where is he going to be by the time he's 18?
He's gonna
And
fulfill those shoes.
yeah, and that's what I like, because that's one of the things that I've always told my kids. I don't want you to be me. I want you to be better than me. I mean, go out and be better than me. I mean, know your capabilities, know your effort, know your worth, you know, and go and achieve it. I mean, and I see that in him, and that's really cool, to know that I'm like, if he continues down the path that he's going down, the people that he's going to know in the industry, the customers that he's going to know, that he's going to start working with at a very young age, and start knowing these people on a first name basis, and remembering things and being able to implement it. And I'm like, he's going to know all that before he's 20 years old. And I think that's so damn awesome. I think it's so freaking awesome. And that's, dude, that's what I live for, and that's what I drive for. So whenever we go out and we get the opportunity to set under a white oak on a flat, with a hammer and gobbler, buddy, that's just icing on the cake, man. The
Hey, one day with dad is better than 10 days at school. That's how it really goes.
amen, amen. And I'll call him sick any day that he wants.
Don't tell him that, because he'll never want to
Yeah,
go back
right,
to school,
right,
though, Aaron. You got to be careful with
right,
that.
exactly.
I was that boy. My dad would shoot a deer, and they call my name Trevor for early dismissal, and I knew what it was because I'd go down and my dad would be there with the pickup truck and a deer in the back of it. Like, you just knew, like we get
Yeah,
to
yeah,
live those blue collar redneck days like that. I miss those days. I mean, those were the
yeah.
days.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. And just real quick, that brings me back to some of my, my good old days, growing up and stuff, man. Man, my parents, man, they owned a old Winchester Model 12, 16 gauge, and man, I remember just hammering squirrels and rabbits and stuff like that with that 16 gauge pump. And man, that's the neat thing about it being in this industry, man. You see these sub gauges coming up. The research, 410 last year, 410 skyrocketed. I mean, it was never spoken about in the turkey woods, and last year you couldn't speak enough about it.
Mm-hmm.
The 28 gauge is right on its heels, man. I just did helped an author on a write-up on the Pennsylvania, one of the turkey magazines for Pennsylvania, and about the benefits of the 28 gauge and how it really fills a really nice void between the 410 and the 20, and and the commonalities between the two, from a loading standpoint, and the capabilities of it. And lo and behold, here we are. Guess what I got sitting 3 feet beside me? The 16 gauge.
Mm.
And the 16 gauge, man, that hits my childhood. And we were fortunate. This hasn't been announced, and I'd love to announce it on here. But
Please.
we are now a dealer for Indian Creek chokes. We partnered with Indian Creek over 6 months ago about the resurgence of 16 gauge. And I'm not knocking any other company. Okay. I got a pattern master right here. I got Jebs on, other chokes and stuff like that. But Indian Creek was the one company that would listen. And with the resurgence of the sub gauges, you knew, okay, what sub gauge hasn't been talked about yet? The 16. And the 60, so you knew that TriStar. I mean, I'll give them props. TriStar is bringing back the 16 gauge, the G2 Viper. I mean, that's pretty much their stapled shotgun now. We spoke with Indian Creek, and Indian Creek listened, and we partnered with them over the last 6 months on designing multiple choke constrictions for the TriStar G2 Viper. We've pattern tested them. We've sent them down range, and I tell you what, I posted one of the patterns, on Facebook. We put it out there. But for a 16 gauge, man, it fits that bill as well too, between the 20 and the 20 and the 12, a 1 7/8 ounce load. We're pushing it right at, just a hair under 1,200 feet per second, kind of in that sweet range right there. Mild recoiling, just a little bit more bark than the 20 gauge, a lot less bark than the 12. And we're putting right at around 370 pellets in a 10-inch circle at 40 yards. And the chokes, the differences in chokes, 5 thou increment, differences in constriction, and you're maintaining that consistency. So we go back to talking about, hunting the fields and hunting the timber and stuff like that. And, kind of like the 20 gauge, the 555, the 562, the 570, we're going to have that with the 16 gauge, and I want to thank Indian Creek for listening. They were one of the few manufacturers that just listened, on what was up and coming, and they were willing to take that on, which is the main reason, from being an ammo manufacturer, I've never wanted to be partnered to a specific gun company, a specific choke company, because you know what? I don't want to tell my customers, if you shoot my ammo, you have to shoot this choke.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that type of person. I want the customers to be able to decide what works best for them. But I give props to Indian Creek, and that's the reason why we partnered with them to become a dealer and to be able to supply their chokes, because they listened. So kudos to Indian Creek, and really looking forward to getting the 16 gauge to the market to everybody else, starting with TriStar and going forward. Let's bring back the 16 gauge.
I don't think there's any better, peanut butter and jelly than Sattie's and Indian Creek. I mean, we shoot Indian Creek with Sattie's. I mean, it's a great choke, and the guys there are
It's
super phenomenal people. I've seen them at a couple different shows, but
yeah.
stopped in and just chit chatted with them. They're just good down heart. They're not trying to sell you anything. They're just telling you the
No,
truth of what it really is. Like
and they and don't get me wrong, I mean, whenever I read the story behind Jebs, and I read the story behind, True Lock and stuff like that, that's what I love about this industry, is these were blue collar people that they had a dream, no different than me. I mean, I'm Joe Blow, Aaron Satterfield with Sattie's Ammunition. That had enough friends put a boot up my ass to make it a reality, and I'm thankful for my friends to do that. And I wonder if they went through the same thing, to where they found something and they had enough people say, dude, you gotta take that to market, you know but that's the cool thing about it is, with my machining background and my machining management background, to be able to talk to them and to be able to talk about tolerances and fits and finishes and stuff like that. And it's cool to be able to relate to them, because I know they're thick in the weeds, but if they're willing to give me 5 minutes of their time on the phone to be able to talk about it and to be able to talk their lingo, and for them to understand that I understand what they're going through and what they're looking for and what I'm asking of them, but for them to do it, kudos to them. I mean,
right.
that's what this is all about. It's no different than how I'm approaching ammunition whenever a customer calls me.
Right. Which is super important. Super important. Well, Aaron, where can everybody find you? Can you just let them know where to reach out to you, have a conversation, find the sample pack, so on and so forth?
Yeah. Best bet right now, Facebook, Instagram, social media right now, because reason being is we do not have our website up and running right now, because we really, through this process of the first year, we really decided to take a step back. And whenever we bring our website to market, which is going to be sattiesllc.com, okay? Whenever we do bring it to market, we want it to be more of an experience. We want it to be able to offer, some of our standard loads, but we don't want to lose the aspect of each and every customer being able to call us, talk to us, tell us what they need, what they want, what their setup is, and let's make sure that we get you taken care of. So social media is the best aspect right now. On social media, I have my 2024 price pages listed. My personal cell phone is listed on those price pages. My personal email is listed on those price pages. Call, email, instant message me on social media, and you will talk to me.
He will respond, I promise, because I bother him all the
Yep.
time with stupid stuff. So, Aaron, we appreciate you jumping on as always, man. We appreciate what you were doing with Saddies and just jellyhead and turkeys every single year. We appreciate it. We really do.
Have fun with it, man. And I tell you what, almost as much as my boy dropping birds right in front of me, I live for getting those texts, those messages of patterns, those texts of of the empty satty shell, because I know what's coming after that. I'm going to see a limb hanger. I'm going to see those hooks, hanging off of a branch. I'm like, show me what you got. Show me what you got. I I live for that. That's why I do what I do, man. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
Sometimes I actually feel bad for the turkeys when I shoot satties.
Hey, if
I
the
don't.
satties,
Just a little bit.
hey, what do we say? When the satties are flying, the birds are dying.
Birds are dying.
That's right.
You can buy that shirt.
Yeah, that's right. Well, for everybody else, thanks for taking the ride right here on the Outdoor Drive.